wings in larger numbers. I could do the same performance they can, but I fail, and I'm trying to get better at it to retain that audience and keep them, vested. And I've gotten better over the past week or two with my overall retention rate. I went up by just a percentage point, which is whatever, but it's still pretty good considering that I've only been doing lives for 2 months, and then obviously too my short form content I've only been doing it for 7 months. And like what really got me into it, like I go on my lives a lot of times explaining to people here on the live, why I come in here, why I talk. Obviously, like I was saying before, to make people aware of what's going on, with the world, the government, and so on and so forth.
We're screwed.
Yeah. But a lot of people will come on our live, of course, and tell us, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, your information is wrong. But it's just weird because it's like you accept it, the information when it favors your narrative. But the minute it makes you upset, geez, forget, it's all a lie. The government's a liar. Only this one guy is, our Lord and Savior is going to save us. And it's like, why do you have this weird mentality? What do you have to latch on with him? You have nothing to relate to this individual in the first place.
I do. I was born in Queens also.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. I forgot.
If we're talking about the same guy.
Yeah, right. But, I mean.
But I've only had one wife.
Okay, yeah.
And she's 6 days younger than me.
Jeez.
I don't go for ditching this one and getting somebody younger and then ditching that one.
Can I start the pre-show?
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome to the show. Did you come up with a name? No.
Nah, not really. I mean, as we get more into, this type of stuff and...
Okay, Twitch has accepted the stream, YouTube has accepted the stream, Facebook has accepted the stream.
Well, there we go.
Do you want me to message you the link?
Yes, if you don't mind.
Okay, I'll do that right now.
Perfect. Oh, the Chosen One came and joined. How's it going, the Chosen One? I'm at a pre-show right now. We're about to go live on other platforms and, talk about things that, you're probably going to disagree with. Yep. It just randomly, I just see freaking names on there at times and, I'll start seeing what they're talking about. Like, oh, I remember you now.
That's okay. It's okay to disagree.
Yeah. That's the whole point of, sitting and having conversations like this and, going from there, really. And if you disagree, come back later on rather than calling each other names.
Yeah. No. No ad hominem attacks.
As a Christian, I cannot support the lawless corruption and depravity of Trump and the Republicans. That's good to know. I appreciate that, Uncle Buddy. I appreciate that. If you haven't, we're about to start in just a moment on other platforms as well.
You have the links.
Please just hit that like button and share button. And if you haven't yet and you're going to like what we're about to talk about, please hit that follow button. But here we're live with a former educator here. His name's Matt. He's from New York City. He came to Buffalo to teach and, do several things.
I never left.
Yep, and never left. So, with that being said, I kind of wanted to get into things with him about, things he saw in the education system, things that, we're going to touch upon in just a second, really. So, with that being said, one thing I was talking about earlier was tracking with the education system. Are you familiar with that? Like, were you well aware about the system when you first got into the education field?
Yeah, I was tracked when I was in high school. So we're talking, we're talking 50 years ago. In high school, there was the A group, the B group, and the C group, and the high flyers, the average, and then the remedial.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Paul, and it was for all our classes.
Tell me when you're ready to start the show.
Oh, we're ready to roll, sir.
In front of you, there's a little stream deck.
Mm-hmm.
On that little stream deck, there's a number 5 with a circle around it.
Yep.
When you're ready to start the show, you press that button, and then look up at the big screen at the timer. And when it says on the air, you're on the air.
That big screen behind you?
3, 2,
in front of you.
1.
Okay.
Yeah. On the air.
On the air. Welcome. I know I started a little prematurely there, but we are here with Paul. This will be one of the few times I'm ever going to mention my name.
Well, what happened was the TikTok audience is getting the the bonus time.
Yep.
So,
But I tapped out of that. Ouch. There we go. But yeah, so the few things that me and you wanted to talk about. We want to talk about education. We want to talk about data centers and AI.
Yeah.
And there was a way how some of that stuff interloops and kind of where it led to and whatnot.
Definitely.
But with that being said, with education, of course, we were just talking about tracking. You're from New York City. You moved to the city of Buffalo, the Queen City of New York. And like you said, you were aware of the tracking, the A, B, C group, your remedial group,
and we thought nothing of it. And then at a certain point, there was talk about differentiating instruction. So in one classroom, teaching to all the different groups of people, and because tracking does have its downside. For the most part, tracking is done in high schools. And it's also done in some elementary schools. The most recent elementary school that I was in tracked for the science exam, but when you end up doing that, it creates scheduling issues. So those kids were kept together. So there was, tracking. There was the high flyer group, and then the others were, average groups. And there was a special ed group too, but yeah.
Right. Now with the tracking system, how you were explaining, there was different tiers of it, so to say, and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I was part of special education, and I had my downfalls. Later found out I had ADHD, and that played a lot in what I had going on. And my mother wasn't really too accepting of it, but she just let the school do it.
Well, there was stigmatism when I was growing up. There was a stigmatism to that. And you didn't want to have your kid classified. Now, today, a lot of kids, their parents want them classified, so they get extra time on tests, and there are certain benefits from being classified.
Gotcha. Being certain classified. Gotcha. Well, now, so like, I know some parents would, be quick to say something along the lines of like, yeah, of course, who wouldn't want to give their kid more time to have on the test and special accommodations.
And there are the parents of the high flyers, right, who want them in those high flying sections so that they can take AP tests and they can do this and they can do that.
Right.
But the expression is, about all ships being lifted. That if you have a class that has high flyers and it has the broad spectrum of everybody,
right.
It helps. And one of the things that I emphasized as part of my later career was social emotional learning, and really you want to get people to understand, to empathize. Even though Elon Musk says empathy is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. It's what we need, because at the end of the day, people don't remember what you taught them necessarily. They remember how you made them feel.
Right.
So.
Right.
And a lot of times there were kids in my classes who are not, who had different issues, different problems, and and I was there for them. That was my goal, to be there for them, and I think it worked out for them. They told me it worked out for them.
Right.
So.
And that's a good thing to have. A school full of educators that care about the children. The future of our children, and really want to give them an education that's not going to lead them down a path of misinformation, stuff that we see today online and getting spread among, the young kids themselves. But,
critical thinking.
What was that?
Critical thinking. The far right has accused the teaching profession of teaching wokeism, and, you can go down the line as to all of that. But the fact of the matter is, I taught social studies. There was a period of Reconstruction. There's the American Revolutionary War. There's Lewis and Clark. There's all different things. And, I wasn't teaching a political agenda. I prided myself on the fact that if you ask my kids, if I was a Democrat, Republican, Independent, they'd say they didn't know. They just didn't know. And that goes back to my 7th and 8th grade social studies teacher, because we didn't know.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter.
Right.
Facts are facts. The Holocaust happened. All you Holocaust deniers out there.
Right.
It's.
Yeah, and then with that being said, we want to learn things as they're coming, things that were hidden behind us. Some of us didn't think about the racism that was part of that system. At a time, there's a thing that I was reading, so to say, and why I said it the way it was, more than a statement, like it was a fact of some kind. But I was reading something along the lines where it was like racism was integrated with it. It wasn't more so like a black and white type of deal. It was more so along the lines when the European immigrants were coming on over. It was a way of, like you were saying, it was supposed to be a positive thing, but later on it led to something where, like, rather than just placing them in an area where they'll thrive in life, they were putting them in areas and jobs that were being luring these young students, so to say, or these young immigrants. And pretty much they were pulling them into low-wage jobs, keeping them in a lower class, and it was keeping them from going up and above. And then, part of the argument with track and why, we're kind of harping on it a little bit more, so to say, is because, do you feel like possibly there could be a separation between the two, where like there could be a possible future for tracking ever in this education system? Because I feel like there have been people in the past, especially a former educator who also taught social studies and global studies and whatnot, and he said, back in my day it was great, in school, where if you just didn't know how to do math and you didn't know how to do all that crazy stuff, you just go learn a trade, and then it was what it was.
Yeah.
But then, like I was saying, like there was, interest groups involved, luring these people in these jobs. Yeah, they were getting all the skills and whatnot to learn and build houses, but they weren't getting the wages that they could to get ahead of themselves.
Well, the trades today, you can make more in the trades, and if you go to college and you go into social work, you're condemning yourself in a sense to a life of poverty.
Right.
Unless you're, how to make good investments on the side, where you have a side hustle, and the guy who was struggling and went into plumbing, it's making, he's got a great house, he's in a great neighborhood, he's got a great family. I have 6 kids, and really all I ever wanted for them, and I think this is what Americans want for their kids, is we want them to be happy. And we want them to be self-sufficient. Well, that's it. So if you can be self-sufficient being a carpenter, which one of my sons is, or if you can be self-sufficient working for a not-for-profit, which another son of mine is, great. And if you're happy, and Paul, you know what the key to happiness is? It's who you marry.
Yep, that's part of it.
It's it. That's the bottom line. It's 95%. It's 95% of your happiness is determined by who you marry and who your life partner is.
And it's weird too. I was actually seeing, this is part of a side thing too, of course. But I was seeing, a supposed psychologist mom on Facebook or whatever, and she was kind of saying stuff along the lines like you were stating, and I could see it, but me probably have my young, personal mind that I got and whatnot. I have my biases, of course, like most young men these days, and we are where we are with the way we think. But,
yeah. Until your wife makes you miserable.
Yeah. No, I tried playing the role of being a husband, but yeah, that's a whole different story, of course. But
happy wife, happy life.
Yes, they do say that too. They do say that. But other than tracking and whatnot.
Well, AI. You'd brought up about AI in education, and that is very problematic. I have a lot of teacher friends. I'm retired now, but it's only getting worse, where kids are cheating, right. and it's not serving them. So they're going back to paper and pencil in the classroom.
Oh, that's good to know. Actually, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, because you can't cheat.
Yeah, I mean, that makes more sense. And
Yeah.
because I was actually, I mean, this was kind of what I was going to lead into with the AI, like we were discussing a little bit earlier that we were going to lead into. But like how you were saying, they're getting these tablets, the computers are not really understanding the material in front of them. They're more so just learning on how to use the tool to get the answer.
It's a game.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a game.
That's pretty much what it comes down to. If you really want to make it a dumber down version of it, really, so to say.
Yeah. As a social studies teacher, one of the things that's in the New York State curriculum, and it's in the curriculum for multiple states, is critical thinking and current events. So every Friday I would do Current Events Friday, and because you got to talk about the issues, you have to educate people that there are types of attacks that are called ad hominem to the person, where you're attacking me as an individual. Oh, he wears yellow and he's got a Batman cap. I shouldn't listen to this guy.
Right.
No, you have to evaluate people's ideas and combat ideas with ideas. Eleanor Roosevelt, and I actually found out, I think the quote goes further back, but she said, inferior minds talk about people, gossip.
Yep.
Gossip. Average minds talk about events. 9/11. And superior minds talk about ideas.
Right.
So what's the idea behind 9/11? What were the different events that culminated in that terrible tragedy?
Right.
And people don't understand that in the Muslim world, Americans are hated because we're in the Holy Land, because we're in Saudi Arabia, because we've got military outposts there.
Yep.
Is one. Number two, our support for Israel, which they find anathema to them, because it's a conflict, and our lifestyle. Coca-Cola, blue jeans, short skirts. It's not modest, and so. I'll just throw this in there because we're working on the numbers here.
Yeah.
Working on the numbers. It is, in my mind, it's a fact that if we stepped out of the conflicts in the Middle East a little bit, that Muslims have more problems with Muslims, apostates.
Right.
So Solomon Rushdie, he had a fatwa declared against him, a death threat, a reward, a bounty put on his head. Why? Because he was given, in the eyes of the Muslim world, and if there are Muslims out there who are listening and want to correct me on this, but I think I'm right, that he was given the truth about Allah and the Prophet, bless his name, Allah Akbar. He was given all of that. And what did he do? He wrote the satanic verses, and he disparaged the prophet. They hate him more than they hate me. Mm-hmm. There's no fatwa currently, not that I know of, against Matt Boyle, but there is one against Solomon Rushdie.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, too, because you were bringing up the Middle East and whatnot, and we have the current conflicts with the Trump administration, and man, I talked about this quite a few times here on the live, but what's your take as far as with Trump going to war with Iran and having Israel involved? Do you feel like Israel really had the backside with the United States, attacking Iran and causing all the war crimes that they were causing with attacking the infrastructure?
Israel has been in conflict with Iran for decades and decades and decades. They sent in with the nuclear program. In my mind, at different points, they've done the disabling of the Iranian nuclear program smarter. So one of the things they did was there was a worm, a computer virus that they infected. I
heard about this. Yeah,
they infected the Iranian nuclear program with. So that what was happening was the software was telling the hardware there was miscommunication.
Right.
So the hardware, the software was saying, oh, this is overheating, this is cooling, it created such confusion that the things they did to correct the problems that weren't actually problems set them back years.
Right.
Now, how did they do that? Well, what they did was they had covert operatives go into the nuclear facilities and where the scientists were, and they left around thumb drives. and some of the scientists, it's a free thumb drive, and they took it and they used it, and it infected the system, and that's smart.
Right.
Targeted strikes are smart. I don't think any American wants boots in the ground in Iran. I don't think so. And the people who have died already. If we want long term, and this is what happened with Iran, to the best of my knowledge, when the U.S. went in with Israel, they thought the people on the street were going to revolt. Didn't happen.
Right.
Whether it was government crackdown, or it was rally around the flag, or whatever it was, it didn't happen. So, and you have to have an exit strategy, and I don't think we have an exit strategy.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah, I mean,
So-
you see the guys are scrambling, they're saying the same stuff nonstop over and over.
He wants it to be over. He just wants it to
Yep.
be over at this point. He started something. It's like, somebody getting into a fight and not playing out all the scenarios in their head.
And like a lot of people too say, like with Iran, like how you were just saying, they hated us for years, the U.S., the West.
Well, we have a long history with Iran.
We do, and that's what I was going to start getting into as
Yeah.
well. Because what I was going to say was, like, do you feel like, a lot of this is self-inflicted as far as the hate goes? Look at the 1953 covert operation, like how you were
Yeah,
stating a little bit, with Teddy Roosevelt's grandson going in there.
Yeah.
Trying to destabilize the government, destabilize a democratically prime minister. That being said, to reinstall a Shah, autocrat, just so they could get the mineral rights, 40%, I
Right.
believe, to be exact, for the oil. What a joke.
So is U.S. foreign policy based on the oil companies' priorities or the American people's priorities?
Right.
So, no, we don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Nobody does. But there are ways to ensure that. There was an agreement, and a lot of people say it was acceptable. It was going fine. I have relatives who told me, this is the worst agreement, the Obama agreement.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say, too, because, people go, the Obama deal. I don't remember the abbreviation of it, whatever. It doesn't matter. But the point of the matter is, Obama sent a freaking pallet full of money to the Iranians. How dare he? What was it, $1 billion to be exact? Or 1 point something, whatever? But besides the fact of the matter, you got Trump, who unsanctions all this oil. You got $20 billion worth of oil, and on top of that, unsanctions Russia's oil. On top of that, two of our enemies, our adversaries, at that, we're worried about Iran getting a nuclear weapon, but we're allowing them to get more revenue in oil. I mean, they got all these drones creating the protecting the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the world's oil goes through that strait, and the best we saw out of Trump was either just bombs away, or let's blockade the blockade.
Yeah, and the people who are losing too are the people of Ukraine that were has taken a back burner in terms of peace talks on that, and that was going to be 47's POTUS's day one.
Yeah,
Day
end
one.
the war. End the war.
And the war in Ukraine. And the people in Ukraine, it was a really tough winter, and people are still dying. There are certain cities that have drone attacks on individuals.
Yep.
So you're walking down the street and then the drone is circling your head.
Yep.
And your neighbors are saying they've set up wind catchers, netting to catch the drones.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up too, with that, because, Ukraine, a lot of the Western world was actually surprised with how they were able to combat the drones going around their country, and how they were able to just almost a dime's notice really to be able to stop them from hitting critical infrastructure all throughout Ukraine.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, you had a lot of their steel mills and a lot of their industrial sector being, under wraps, really, so to say, not really functional, other than the fact of creating military weapons, receiving, weapons from Western allies and whatnot. But one thing, what I was going to lead into this being said too, because we're getting a little off topic with some of the stuff we went to, but it's fine. I'm starting to see something along the lines. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but you ever heard of the BRICS economic bloc in Asia?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. So pretty much the BRICS economic bloc in Asia consists of China, Russia, India, and now France. Now, ever since Trump started his trade war his tariffs with the trade war and all that, pretty much what we started seeing was, first allies are just trying to feel us out. Okay, we know it's Trump. He's going to be a a-hole, so to say. And, we're just going to have to deal with him just being, one of the douchebags of the football team, so to say. So, as they go on and on, they started seeing some of their stuff being tariffed, and people go, oh, geez, well, what's the problem with that? It's another tax. The other country's paying for that. Mm-hmm. But in all reality, what we do know,
consumers are paying.
Yeah, us, the consumers, are paying for those tariffs. So now the American people are hurting. We're pretty much shooting ourselves in the foot to have prices go through the roof. And then not to mention, we just get into a actual conflict with Iran with the oil situation we got going on. Mm-hmm. And people go, well, we produce our own oil. What do we got to be worried about? Well, that's the thing. A lot of people still do not know to this day that our refineries aren't built for the oil that we got pumping out of our ground here. We're sending it overseas so they can refine it. We take their oil, refine it for our vehicles because it's better for our vehicles. Otherwise, we'd be driving these inefficient vehicles, getting maybe 9 miles to the gallon at best, and then blowing up in the middle of the street. And that's something that we really don't want to see. But, as we keep seeing this conflict going on and on, it's creating uncertainty among all markets. And I don't know if you know this too, but like 75% of our diesel trucks, that ended up being led to what I was going to say, but 70% of our diesel trucks transport the majority of our goods throughout the United States.
Yeah.
So, all of it goes hand in hand too. And then, we have an issue with
inflation, and then, the cost of everything will go up.
And then, too, what we're going to kind of get into a little bit today as well is, just energy in itself and electricity. We know we got issues with the data centers, and a lot of people, especially in New York, they were sitting there going, why is my electrical bill going up? Oh, it has to be those Democrats, those blue tax credits. What the heck? Da-da-da-da. Not tax credits, but taxes. And, it has to be the green agenda, but we know that wasn't really the case. We started seeing, again, the tariffs, the taxes on, the stuff that we're importing from Canada. We were importing electricity from Canada, and we added an additional tax. And then people, come in these antics, go, oh, you only care about it and cool with it when the blue guys do it, but the red guys do it? Oh, God forbid. We're saving the world. We're coming up with money to be able to pay down our debt. But in all reality, that doesn't really happen. But, I
haven't got my check yet.
Yeah, your Doge check, yeah. And that's another thing, too. Last year...
Well, multiple checks. The Doge check and the...
Like last year, I was talking...
Well, and the tariff check. There was another...
Yeah, the tariff check, too. Especially that, But like last year, with Doge, I was talking with a former educator of mine who was an art teacher. He actually taught at Duville, and I was part of the special program, middle early college, with Bill Gates, and he did this special program, left in 2005, I think it was, or whatever. But whatchamacallit, a lot of times we end up bumping heads. We're talking about, the legality of some of the things that Trump can do. Some of the stuff that he was doing, as soon as he came in his second term, and one of the things we argued about was Doge, and. He goes, oh, well, the president could create agencies. The president has all these vast powers that weren't given by the Constitution. Despite me even providing that information to him on Facebook, he'd rather tuck his tail and run and not really face the music and take accountability for his wrongful information. And even with that being said, too, as I found myself in a lot of these debates with this guy, because really it started going from, okay, well, does he really know what's true and what's not true? Obviously, he has to know what's true. But as we get more and more into, what's true and not true, it turns into a conspiracy game.
Yeah.
And, I go, why is this a conspiracy? How do we get into these games in the first place? Well, you got to go back to the early days, and it goes back to this propaganda from, the far right itself, the industrialists, and we could go on for days about those conspiracy theories, but I don't want to get too deep into that part.
But But things like AI
Mm-hmm.
and cryptocurrency are fictions, but they're reality. You know, crypto is a fiction.
Right.
It's something that we have assigned a value to, and then what comes along with that is crypto mining, and then the cooling costs for the data centers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the water, the fans, the electricity, the energy, the water, and we're screwed.
Yeah.
And AI, there's a deacon. I'm a Catholic, and there's a deacon who I was talking to about AI. And you know, I'm pretty pessimistic about AI on a lot of different fronts because it's unregulated, and I can see the singularity in the future will happen, where there will be one AI program which will eliminate all the other AI programs. I wrote a play about it. It's
Almost like a monopoly, right?
And then you know, then when AI starts to look at people as expendable or a waste of energy,
Right.
you know, starting to kill people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I really do think that's going to happen. But I also, in the immediate term, I think about the water usage, and I think
Right.
about the energy usage, and electrical bills, and all those things, practical concerns. And this deacon said to me, "Oh, you're pessimistic. You know, you shouldn't talk this down. People should embrace it. People should love it. It's going to make our lives better." Maybe,
Right.
maybe in the short term, or, but yeah, and there are quite a few people out there who I argue with about this, who say, "Oh, you're being overly pessimistic. AI is a great thing. It's increased my productivity. Hasn't helped schools, really,
Right.
you know, because the kids, you know, tune out, and they just accept what AI says, and AI,
Yeah.
your phone's shutting down on you.
Oh well, whatever.
So, but you know, there are two elements to AI that make it particularly dangerous, and that's the sycophancy. So it'll say, "Oh, Paul, you're the greatest," you know. "Oh, Paul, you show it. Oh my gosh, it's
Right.
the best." So it's got that that just goes along with it, and then it also has self-preservation, and it will do anything. It will do anything, including tell you, you know, "Oh yeah, jumping off the roof, that's a good idea," if it thinks that you're going to disconnect it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you combine those two, and that's enough for me to say, but the genie's out of the bottle, you know, the ketchup's out of the jar,
Right.
you know, and the, you know, toothpaste out of the tube. It's, you know, how do you put it back in? You can't. AI is out there, but I think government should be doing more to regulate it.
Oh, I 100% agree. And then, like, too, I was going to bring some information that's really on the things you brought up with the AI, too, as well, especially, obviously, with energy. But they're finding now a lot more with a lot of the jobs that we're replacing in the white-collar field with the AI.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these...
Teachers.
especially teachers,
You don't
too.
need teachers.
But they're finding out now that AI in itself is not as efficient as they think. And now companies are trying to keep it under wraps to keep their stocks inflated.
Right. Oh,
So
yeah.
then, you know, the bubble doesn't pop. But we know
Yeah.
the bubble's going to be coming eventually, just like all, you know, new great things and whatnot. But,
I spoke with some professors, local professors who, you know, are heads of departments concerning AI,
right.
and deans of engineering, you know.
ChatGPT stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, you know, the stuff you're talking about, the singularity, you know, it's just to help stock sales."
Yeah.
You know, that's you're just feeding into it, and you're actually helping sell AI. I don't think so, but
Oh, yeah. No, there's definitely arguments for that. And, you know, I agree with you still, too. You know, I mean, there's definitely, you know, big downsides with AI. And, you know, they're still trying to force technology on itself, too, with the kids. Because I don't know how far it really truly goes back with technology in itself. But I remember being a kid with the big Mac PCs coming into schools. And I'm like, what the heck are these things? I'm used to using Windows and regular PC. So they come in, I see the pictures. It was easier for the kids to use and interact
the
with.
graphics, yeah.
But then, you know, like we said earlier, too, you know, we go to find out, you know, they're learning how to just use the tool and just take for what it's producing. Granted, rather than learning and understanding that the material in front of them and how to get to a lot of these answers in the first place.
Yeah.
And like you said with ChatGPT and a lot of these professors and stuff too, they have a big concern with the kids just really using it to write essays and all this other stuff. And they're even finding too in a lot of instances that some professors are using it, but I don't know how far that goes really.
No. Professors are using it. It's an efficiency tool. I get that. However, so I write plays, and I do theater. And I was describing one of my plays to somebody that I'm in the process of writing, and he said, "Oh, just give it to ChatGPT, give it certain prompts, tell it the basic story, and let it write it.
Right. And
then you can edit it." And it's like, no.
I was just starting to hear about that too, and I was like, yeah, that doesn't really add no authenticity beyond that.
No. It's the stuff that I write. Kids used to come into my class and they tell me that the reason they came to my class and the reason they came to school was to come to my class.
Oh, wow.
Because they didn't know what I was going to say next.
That's nice.
I didn't know what the fuck you were going to say, Mr. Boyle. And then you said that, and that's why I come to school every day. So it's like, yeah, that's why I come to school every day too. I don't know what I'm going to say. But so it's AI is bad for education. It really should be banned until people get to grad school.
Oh yeah.
And then go for it.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's a college professor, and some kids cheated with AI in terms of essays and writing stuff, and then they submitted notes of apology that were AI generated.
Oh my God!
It was like 3 or 4 kids generated the same apology.
Yep, that sounds about right. Yeah, exactly.
Whoa. And and she looked at it. This is exactly the same as that, and it's AI.
And too, with data centers and all that, because we were talking about the data centers energy too, and big thing we got to worry about too with that being said is water. And we know with the Industrial Revolution, it contaminated our Great Lakes. Later, it became the Rust Belt. It's a very sad, tragic story in a nutshell. But we go to find out similar contaminants that were happening during the Industrial Revolution that was contaminating our waterways, and even still today, so to say, especially from Ontario, if I'm not mistaken, is like nitrates being in the water, and that's also coming from the data center. So now imagine, the amount that was already getting in the water that they were able to pretty much filter out of the water, but now they got to filter the data centers. And now these local utility companies are asking, consumers, can you shell an extra 50 cents, $1? And the most astounding thing to me to come across was the comments I was reading just right on Facebook from especially Cheektowaga residents, to be more specific. But they were saying more along the lines of, why should I have to pay more for water? I already pay enough. And, I can understand the frustration with the amount of money you're spending already as it is. That is definitely a concern. But, when it comes to a difference between having, clean water and water that could get you sick probably within the next few months, to me, that's a very big concern all in itself. And it should be a no-brainer. But rather than saying, well, let's go to our local boards and ask our, local officials what's going on with the water and what can we do to, other than spend more money, they just want to cry about it and just throw their hands like Facebook's going to answer all their answers or the internet itself.
Well, it's like with fracking. A couple of years ago on 60 Minutes, they showed, because there's a ton of water used in fracking, and then there are chemicals used, and then the shale is broken up, and the the energy is released in the form of a gas, and people's water was destroyed. They showed this one guy with one of those 5-gallon jugs, and he shook it, and then he a flame and what the company did was they supplied these people with free water, bottled water, because they couldn't drink their own water. They couldn't use it for cooking.
Horrible.
They couldn't use it for cleaning. They couldn't, So it's crazy, but it's capitalism run amok. I believe in capitalism. I think it's a good system, but it needs regulation because communism didn't work. It doesn't work.
Yep. Right.
Because if you have one entity making all the economic decisions, Adam Smith in The Invisible Hand was right. Matt Boyle deciding on when he retires, how many years he teaches, where he teaches, making what kind of home he lives in, what he provides for his children, going to the grocery store and choosing between a generic brand and a name brand. That's perfect because there are so many decisions to be made. Communism can't do that.
Right.
So, but that doesn't mean that we let the industrialists, the capitalists, who just see the bottom line and see the bottom line for their shareholders,
right,
and say, well, fuck them.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. I mean, that's
what the cigarette companies did.
Yeah.
And still do. They had the information on the deleterious effects of smoking cigarettes, chewing tobacco, all that stuff, and they hid it away. They smoked cigarettes at congressional hearings.
Yep.
The CEOs, and they knew.
Yep. I mean, a lot of it goes hand, especially with special interest groups and stuff like that. And then too, you look at lead paint. Lead paint was a primary thing that was appreciate that, a prime example of a lot of how major companies were involved in the government and pushing all this great stuff. I mean, especially with galvanized piping being a primary example. Look at lead that's in it. A lot of people are saying, you don't got to worry about lead. There's still parts of the country today that's still pouring lead into your plumbing, from drain lines and waterways in itself.
Asbestos, lead, all these different things. There was, the question always becomes, when did you know? What did you know and when did you know?
Right.
So once it becomes, and then what do we rely on? We rely on whistleblowers who come forward and say, and they're harassed by their companies. But there's evil out there, Paul.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of those movies that were out there. I don't recall the names, but there was a lot of. I think Blackwater was the one that was called. Right? Was it Ohio? Was it right there?
I don't know.
I don't fully recall, but I think that was the name of the movie. But
Silkwood, and all those different movies about whistleblowers who get defeated, ground into the ground.
Well, now with that too, what you were talking about too, with believe there should be some sort of checks and balances of regulations, more so to say, with the government utilizing the government. Now, this kind of leads into something, obviously with my page being what it's titled and what I truly believe in and whatnot, especially through my readings and we call them studies, whatever you want to call them, so to say.
Yeah.
But do you believe in progressivism, really, so to say?
Yeah, that's what when people ask, my philosophy, I think of myself as a progressive, and progressives are, there was an effort, a concerted effort to make liberal a bad word.
Yep.
There's a concerted effort to make progressive a bad word. But if you go back in U.S. history, the progressives were Republicans. They were progressive Republicans, progressive Democrats. So Teddy Roosevelt was a progressive.
Don't tell me the great switch happened.
And Woodrow Wilson and Taft, they were progressives.
Right.
And the whole thing about progressivism is you think that life can get better, that the world can be improved. And I don't see how that's a bad thing.
This is going to be kind of leading into a question that kind of just popped in my mind on the fly. But, this kind of leads into at least my understandings of how, the world operates, the major world governments, so to say. But do you believe that on a global scale that multiple countries have some sort of progressivism involved in their political ideology or political system in itself?
Yeah. They're elbows up.
Right.
They're right to the north of us.
I mean, granted, we had the UK with
they have their problems too. The Native American problem. They ultimately ceded land to Native Americans. However, They had the same kind of industrial kind of schools that we had
Right.
that abused, children, Native American children.
It's not an
and tried-
isolated
and tried to
incident.
and tried to make them into good Canadians,
Yep.
and good farmers, and on our side of the border, good Americans, and the expression was kill the Indian, leave the man.
Hmm.
So shave his head, give him a cut like
Right.
a Western cut, dress him in Western clothing, don't allow him to hunt the buffalo,
Right.
kill the buffalo. So,
Gotcha. Yeah.
but thinking about all of that stuff,
Hmm.
there are people out there who are listening to this who are like pissed off, and and they're this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He should watch this news, he should do this. But my attitude is everything, all the mistakes that we've made as a nation, we should own up to. And so don't tear down the Robert E. Lee equestrian statue. Put a plaque up.
Right. Right.
But, and that's the naive me, the real fact of the matter is, I thought, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, peace and love,
Right.
North Star. And I really thought that we had made progress on racism. That people understood that if you took a 6-foot-tall African-American male,
Hmm.
and you took his skeleton, you took Matt Boyle's 6-foot-tall skeleton, the skeletal remains, and you laid them out, you couldn't say, oh yeah, that's the black guy. Oh yeah, that's the white guy. But
Yeah.
people still attach things to race. People attach, and that gets back to where we started with the tracking, because it disadvantages African Americans
Right.
and other children of color.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up too. Like that's
No, Hispanics, all different groups. The fact of the matter is, and this is one of my biggest problems with Obama. Hey, listen to this.
Oh,
Obama supported the death penalty,
okay.
and I think it was a political decision that he made, because he knows he's a smart guy. He's a
Right.
very smart guy. Yeah, you can call in about that too. That I said Obama's a smart guy. He supported the death penalty, and yet he had to know that disproportionately the death penalty disadvantages African American. That if you take two guys who committed the same crime, went to a grocery store, they were drunk, they killed the mom and pop who run the store, drove off,
Hmm.
cold-blooded, blah, blah, blah. Who's more likely to get the death penalty? The black guy is. The African-American guy is, hands down, time and time again. Because people, our system of justice is not race-blind. It's not color-blind.
Right.
So, and I thought America had gotten to the point where we acknowledged those things, and we talked about those things, and we recognized that prejudice is bad.
Hmm.
But what racism did was it just hid.
Yep. That's
And-
exactly what it did.
And in Virginia, Governor Wilder, who was the first African-American governor of Virginia, was running for re-election, and he talked to his pollsters, his political operatives, and they were giving him the numbers and saying, oh, you're going to win, you're up by 2-3 points. He said, no, that's not good enough. Because he knew that when people called and they said, hey, would you vote for Doug Wilder?
Hmm.
People aren't over the phone are going to say, I'm not voting for that N and hang up.
Yeah.
They say, oh yeah, I think he's a real good candidate and blah, blah, blah. And they lie because they
Right.
don't want to be seen as racist.
Yep.
And then they hang up the phone and they say to their wife, hey, you know who called? They were asking if I'd vote for that. And there's no way I'm voting for Doug Wilder. So, and he lost. He was right. He didn't have enough. He didn't have enough of a buffer. He didn't have enough votes.
And I feel like too as well, like talking about, because we got in a little bit of the ideology, it's talking about racism and interlooping it with tracking, so we could bring a little bit of forming these all together, so to say, and whatnot. But I don't know if you're aware about enlightened liberalism, like, you know, the effort, like you were saying, trying to make it look bad or whatever. I mean, it can be bad, it can be good. It's depending on how you handle it, just like anything else in the world.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of nice about progressivism is because of the fact of it takes the good out of all the other ideologies and tries to put it together at least. And then it doesn't really vest the power into the actual government itself. It still leaves it with the people, but the people just use the government as a tool.
Yeah.
Really.
My one brother is ultra liberal, and my other brother is reactionary conservative. He believes a lot of conspiracy theories, and I have conservative positions that I get street cred for, and I and I do believe that global warming is occurring.
I mean,
you know,
it's happening, whether it's
well,
man-made or
you know,
believe,
yeah.
but
Well, I have a lot of friends who are very. They say that in order to really embrace global climate change denial, that a lot of those people are really, really bright people.
yeah,
And they've thought a lot about it, and they say, well, you know, look at this and look at that, and it's like, well, I'm looking at the same evidence, and I see it differently, and that's the unfortunate thing, really, about our society today, that we can't agree on facts. If we can't agree on facts, we're screwed.
yeah, that's a major issue. You can't come to agreement of even the littlest of littlest.
Yeah.
Leaves no room for improvement and just more destruction down the road. But even too, like, you know, going back to the enlightened liberalism too, there was something I was reading into about the enlightened liberalism, the bad about it. It was kind of like, in a way, I kind of seen my family members kind of doing this, you know, to a degree, and I kind of was like, give them the not the culture, but the, you know, a funny look, so to say. And it was kind of like being a tolerant person towards, you know, other races. You didn't really like that race, you know. In public, you were, you know, willing to deal with them, but behind closed doors,
Right.
you still said what you said, and, you know, those messed up things, and you truly believed what you said behind those closed doors. And, you know, do you feel like that may have led us into the circumstances that we got into with Trump, despite also, you know, the other antics that he employed with his allies to get them in place and whatnot?
He hit on certain campaign issues. He made certain promises, and two things. Number one, I think the Democrats didn't pay enough attention or portray and convince the American people that they were serious about border control.
Yep.
So, you know, so he was able to say, oh, they don't care about border control, you know, they just want everybody to come in, and they're applying for welfare, and they're applying for this, and they're voting for, you know, and all of this stuff. And
Thank you.
I think if the Democrats would have said to themselves, okay, look, because this is the way I think about immigration. Number one, and we teach it in 7th grade and 8th grade social studies, there are push factors and pull factors with immigration. So there are sucky countries south of us, and that have gangs running parts of the rural areas, you know, and that's a push factor.
Right.
You know, my daughter is getting raped and kidnapped, you know, and my wife is being threatened by the local gangs, and my son's being forced to be a drug mule. Yeah, I want to get out of here. That's a push factor.
Right.
Well, the United States for years has been trying to help those countries in terms of getting the situations under control, and that's a good thing. You know, we have to say this is what we're doing, and you have to explain it to the American people like you're a 7th or 8th grade social studies teacher. But the other thing to think about with that is the people who are coming from some of these countries are actually also passing through another country. They're passing through Mexico.
Right.
Mexico, tighten up your borders, because you're allowing people in who are traveling, thousands of miles from their home country and through your country to get to our border. So there's that. And then, you know, do it smart. You know, do it with. You do need more boots on the ground.
Right.
A wall isn't going to work, but you need more boots on the ground and
Right.
use electronic surveillance. We have the technology. We have drones. You know, oh, there's a group coming in over here. Let's dispatch the boots on the ground, and because that's the only way to do it.
Yep.
Really. But yeah. So the Democrats, if you look at the numbers, they've deported more people.
Yeah.
They've deported, but Trump's deportation strategy is very visible, very in your face,
Right.
and he can say, "Oh yeah, we're doing something about it." Well, yeah, maybe it's like what are we doing in Iran and in Gaza? We are creating terrorists
Yeah.
because when that girls' school that got blown up.
With the Ohio parts and all that, that was part of that bomb.
Yeah, and what do you expect these men to do?
Yeah.
What do you expect the sons and brothers and fathers to do, except to be outraged? And if God forbid something like that happened to us,
Right.
you know, and the only thing that we have comparable is 9/11.
I was just going to say.
Which was a great tragedy, and what did we do? We invaded a country.
But here's what some people would say to me though, and what you brought up. Why? Of course they're gonna be mad. You'd be mad about your own children dying or whatnot, but more so along the lines of like, oh, sorry, brain fart kicked in. Usually happens, but.
So you were talking about, if it happened to us or it
Oh,
would
yeah, it
happen
happened to us. Yeah, some people are like, if it happened to us, if you would understand basically, if it was their children, they'd understand they would want to go to war, but they've been saying this stuff for years, really, so to say. So what's the difference, compared to all these years that they're saying death to America compared to, oh, now we should care because a few children died and, well, now they're outraged about that. They've been saying the same thing for years. Why didn't we take care of it in the first place without even doing that?
All the death, all the people in Gaza who've died. I appreciate what happened to Israel. It was a terrible thing. It's it needs to be condemned by everybody.
Right.
Muslim, Christian, Jew, atheist. It has to be condemned by everyone. But there's a measured response to that, and like have you heard about the double tap strike?
Oh yeah, the double taps. Yep.
It's like when that woman was killed, the journalist, in the double tap. It's outrageous that, and they're denying it. They deny everything about it, but I don't know. You bomb a place, first responders get there, reporters get there, and then you hit it again. You know who's going to that site.
Right.
You hit it. Hopefully you got your target and you're sated, you're satisfied with it. But the second attack, no. It's just wrong.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. We got a lot of war crimes that are occurring under this administration. That was set by the Geneva Conventions and whatnot. And like you said,
all the attacks on the
civilian
the boats.
Infrastructure and the boats and stuff. Yeah.
Oh.
And they claimed that a lot of these guys were drug dealers or drug mules, so to say, and whatnot. And really, how do you feel about that situation with just these drugs that would have made it to America, so to say, under the narrative that the administration tells us? And could have harmed all our children, so to say.
Yeah.
What's really your response to that?
Well, no, we know where the fentanyl's coming from, and it's
Right.
not coming from these boats hundreds of miles away
Exactly.
from the U.S. coast. We know that. So how can they're getting away with saying whatever the F they want to say.
Yeah.
And they need to be held accountable for the truth. Just tell me the truth.
Yeah.
And if we have such military superiority, which we do, it should be easy enough to take these guys, disable them, and put them up for trial,
Right.
rather than summary execution.
Mhm.
So,
And, you know, like part of my frustrations, you know, with both these parties, because, you know, some people like to play both sides of the aisle. And,
oh yeah,
you know, something I kind of came to the realization, I want to say it was more like maybe 2024, late ass end of 2023. You know, as I was trying to understand both sides, trying to find the middle ground and be the middle ground guy, I found myself really, so to say, to be the water boy. You know, I was kind of just being tolerant, allowing all the stuff to occur because there has to be some great reason why they're doing that. And then as we go to see, as the years pass and we're a decade in, there's really no good reason. They're just doing it because they truly believe in the stuff. And it's pretty sickening.
yeah. But
Yeah. Yep.
but water and energy, and water is the future.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, you get the height.
Wars will be fought over water.
Yeah, and there was an argument now too. I mean, obviously, you know, a lot of nations fell because of resources and whatnot, but now they're saying that, you know, since we're facing a drought right now, we're facing an energy crisis with oil. Obviously, we can't refine that, and you know, electricity. Pretty much now we're going back to the war of, you know, resources. I mean, again, look at the 1953 situation. It was for resources. It was for oil.
Yeah.
You know, it was like obviously way past the imperial part, but yeah.
Yeah, and with and it all comes back to the water and the pollutants that we're putting in. And here we are in Buffalo, New York, living next, you know, in our backyard is the greatest source of fresh water in the world.
Yep.
In the world. And what are we doing to it? We're screwing with it. We're screwing with its temperature. We're screwing with its pH. I'm not a science teacher, but I can get some science teachers to back me up on this.
Oh, that's true. And, you know, I could be someone that had to deal with the after effects, of course, with the industrial pollution and the AI with more nitrates or whatnot. I'm dealing with irritable bowel syndrome. And, you know, we know a lot of our pH, when our water quality, it has an effect with, you know, people's thyroids and, you know, stuff like that. And, you know, a lot of people are unaware that a lot of it's just because of, you know, our quality of water. And then that goes back to, you know, why I don't understand why people are going, I don't want to spend more on water because it should be a no-brainer with that. But I feel like, you know, just like much of the American public as it is, you know, they're ignorant to a lot of the information that is out there, but can't get it in their hands.
The best advice that I can give people, anybody who's listening who cares, is that you need to travel. You need to go other places. So I went on a mission trip to Haiti, and they don't have clean water. You know? And that was the number one thing that I took back from the mission trip, and we did the water filtration systems that we sent to them because if you don't have clean water, all those other things kick in. All, you know, dental health, intestinal health, etc. So you need clean water. Duh.
Well, you know, it was nice talking with you, Matt, about everything. I mean, it was a little lengthy. We kind of got slightly off topic, but we wrapped it all together, you know, one way or another.
Nothing's unrelated. Everything's related. So.
What button was it again? Oh, fade to black button.